All right. Hello, everybody. I am here with the CEO of Rework, Shelton Banks. He is an innovative leader, professional, a LinkedIn influencer, and friend. Shelton, thank you for talking with me today.
Oh, no problem, man. The intro is always so gracious, like so much pressure got to live up to it.
I was trying to do some nickname like Shelton going to the bank, but I couldn't figure out the plural. But anyway.
Oh, man, you could have said that, man.
Yeah.
Shelton going to the bank, Shelton stay at the bank, man. I love that.
Well, do me a favor, talk a little bit about yourself, your role as CEO, and then about Rework, because obviously it's an incredible organization and company that you're working with.
Oh yeah, man. I hate talking about myself, but yeah. So from Chicago, man. I'm born and raised in Chicago, from the south side of Chicago. If anybody that's familiar with the area, Roseland neighborhood, so 103rd, the Wild Hundreds, as people like to say. Uh, Grew up there and navigated my way through a couple of different career paths. So jumped into the world of banking early in my career, hopped into retail, dabbled into that a little bit, and it ended up in kind of like the SaaS tech space. So Groupon, which was where I met you, Sprout social media management company, and did really, really well there. And always wanted to give back. Giving back has always been my passion. And so now I'll have the privilege of helping other people from the neighborhoods that I grew up in, or ones like Roseland, 103rd in Michigan. I got the opportunity of helping them secure employment in the tech space, in the tech industry, and helping them, get their foot in the door and ultimately make money, man. I'm helping other people to take it to the bank.
Nice. Well, I have always noticed when I was working with you, you talk about helping others. I felt like you really were strong on that. And then I think that really helped you catapult your career. I also shared your dynamic and entrepreneurial. I've always seen you do things a little outside of the box, where everyone was cold calling, doing cold emails. You were finding ways of building relationships through social media. You've got a strong LinkedIn following. Has that always been kind of part of you, is just being a little extra creative and finding resourceful ways of connecting with people?
Yeah, I think so, man. I mean, and to me, I look at it as hustle. So like, man, 103rd Michigan isn't the greatest neighborhood in the world. Didn't have the greatest upbringing in the world, and so, man, you learn to work with what you had. You learn to play the cards you had dealt, and so getting into the tech space or any professional environment wasn't, and I think I can speak for a lot of people, where it wasn't the easiest kind of transition. Wasn't always just like a good fit. And as I think about like topics like diversity and inclusion and kind of what inclusion means to me, I'm like, man, if I got to spend more time figuring out like how to dance their dance, I'm not really going to be effective. And so for me, the thinking outside the box is really like, what's the middle ground of like dancing and playing the game of, how, the company has it set up, versus like playing my game and being where I'm effective at, like how to blend the two together. And so like, yeah, that's usually my thinking on it.
Well, you seem to blend things very well together. Can you share more about Rework? I guess, what's the mission? What are you doing? Share some successes with it. I've had a chance to volunteer and be a little part of it, but I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, so our mission is to help tech companies or companies look more like their communities, right? And so again, Chicago is a really big place, and that's where Rework started. And when you look at the dynamics of different companies, they don't necessarily look like the neighborhoods from Chicago. And so like we want to change that. We do an 8-week training program, and it's only on the weekends, and we find people that we think that could be a good fit for tech sales, like people that have that kind of grit and hustle dynamic, that may be working in like retail or some of the jobs that I worked. So like, I sold Vector, Cutco knives, and Kirby vacuums, kind of commission only jobs, and I made money, but it was a grind. And those qualities, those skill sets, I mean, they transfer really easy. And so we find people like that, and we polish them up. So they may be a little rough around the edges. We polish them up, and then we introduce them to opportunities in the tech space. And man, we're coming up on 5 years old in July, and we kind of went from like proof of concept, trying to figure it out, to kind of full scale, like it's working. And so, man, we've had people that typically come in. The average person that comes to us that we find makes around between $8,000 and $14,000 a year annually, right? So like 14, that's like $700 a paycheck, which isn't not a lot of money. They go from that to making like a base salary of 55,000,
Wow.
sometimes 60,000, like a 300% increase across the board in somebody's salary. And I mean, that really gives them an opportunity. I mean, we're adopting this slogan of better incomes equals better outcomes. And so, like, if you could just imagine, man, you give somebody that income, it's just like the world changes, like opportunities change, thinking starts to change. And so we're coming up on, I want to say, 150th person that we've gotten a job in the tech industry. And I mean, sometimes they have college degrees, sometimes they don't, sometimes they're dropouts. Like it's just a variety of people, variety of circumstances. Sometimes they're Uber drivers before, sometimes they have doctorate's degrees and just can't figure it out. And we changed the game for them. And so yeah, man, we're coming up on 5 years old, scaling. So Chicago based, and now we're taking, people from everywhere, nationwide virtual training. Yeah, dude, it's a great time, man. I'm excited for some upcoming stuff that we got.
Well, it's incredible how many people you're helping, and in 8 weeks, upskilling people to be prepared to sell, doing tech sales. All good. So can you share some of the companies that you're working with?
Home office pandemic problems. Yeah. So some of the companies that we're working with. So Groupon is one of them. So, company I'm from. Sprout Social is another big one. Tech company here, based in Chicago. DocuSign is another big one. Salesforce is somewhere we place candidates at. Man, it's smaller ones like Packback has been a great organization for us. Man, we got a little bit over 100 plus companies that are kind of represented by over, I want to say we coming up on like 500 volunteers that we have that are like shipping in to help tech be more diverse and inclusive. And so, like, yeah, we good times.
I love your energy. I love what you're doing. I also know you're involved in a lot of projects. I mean, again, I follow you on LinkedIn, the way that you post content and engage people is very impressive. But also, my understanding is you're working on a book. Anything else that you can share that you're working on?
Yeah, so working on a book. Not sure if you saw. So a part of I'm a co-founder to a group called Sales for the Culture. And the premise behind this group. So like while Rework is helping individuals kind of get their foot in the door when it comes to tech sales, once you get there, it's still a whole nother beast. You still need support. Like it's a whole nother beast. And so Sales for the Culture is it's helping to facilitate and get people comfortable, like keep people comfortable, just like a resource, kind of like an independent employee resource group is what Sales for the Culture is. The book, yeah. So writing the book, the name of the book is going to be called The Jedi's Handbook. And it's a spinoff. So JEDI is an acronym that stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and the S stands for sales. So how I've kind of blended it all together. So the Jedi's Handbook is the book that I'm working on. And last but not least, outside of scaling, and I guess you'll be the first person to know about this, I got invited to do a TED Talk. And so I got a TED Talk that I'm working on that should be coming soon. And I keep everybody posted on that.
Great. Well, maybe we'll hire you for speaking engagements. Yaymaker just launched a speaker series. So we have Montel Jordan talking diversity and inclusion. We've got motivational speakers. We're looking at mental health, all these topics. So, well, let me ask you, with diversity, equity, inclusion, any advice you have for companies on other things they should be doing when considering that?
Oh man, I can't say this enough. And people, like I say this time, blue in the face. So it's, diversity and inclusion, when you think about kind of the traditional training that happens around diversity and inclusion, it's such an intellectual exercise. It's like you go through the training, you sit people down for an hour, and you tell them why they should be, unbiased. You tell them why they shouldn't harass people. And it's like, then what do you do with it? Oftentimes, some people are fatigued from the training. Like, I mean, there's just so many issues that happen because it's just the intellectual exercise. And I'm a firm believer, I say it often, that you can't be diverse and inclusive professionally if you're not diverse and inclusive personally. Right? Like, you got to be able to blend the two. And so for companies that are working on diversity and inclusion, I stress that, like, how do you find ways for your employees to get involved and actually contribute to change outside of this, the training? Like, how do you take it a step further and help them do something that builds, and not only is it helps change the culture at your company, but also helps changes and reaches the heart of a person individually. And so that's what I would tell them. And then if they're like, oh, well, what can we do? I would say, like, oh, come follow me on LinkedIn and come volunteer for a rework, and I'll help, I'll help fix that problem.
Well, as I said, I love your insights, your passion, everything with it. So anyway, I like to make these short and sweet. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, and I appreciate your friendship and support. You're one of my favorite people to bounce ideas off of. So I'm looking forward to your book, TED Talk, and let's just be staying in touch, Shelton.
Man, likewise, man. Always, it's such a refreshing thing whenever I get to chat with you, man. So likewise, man. Appreciate the support. Happy to support you. Happy to support you here, whatever other endeavors you got going on.
All right. Thanks, Shelton. Two ways to speak.